to another episode of Casing the Cover with Jen!
And Mary.
That's awesome.
We're very good at this.
We are. We're getting better. Alright. So, it is my understanding that it is my turn to do a book.
It is Jen's turn to do a book.
Alright. We do not have a book on set with us, but hopefully those of you watching this will have some sort of visual aid
Yes.
to tell you about this. But the book that I am doing is The Invention of Everything Else by Samantha Hunt. I picked the book because it had a pigeon on it.
So describe for us what the cover looks like, since we don't have it here to visualize, and you've seen it.
Yes, and actually there are multiple covers for this, so I give people full reign. Go online and check out all the bizarre covers for this. Some of them I think are more meaningful than others, including the pigeon one.
Which was the case with our last round of cover analysis as well. Especially with your book, you had a book that was very true to the story, and the cover that really wasn't.
Yes, and in this case, the cover that is on the book, the one you're talking about is Fat Bob Dead Yet? And the cover that was on the actual hardcover book made perfect sense. But the online version of the cover didn't make any sense.
Didn't make any sense.
This is the opposite.
So your audio or your ebook cover worked better.
So much better. Makes so much more sense.
From what I understand, they all have the pigeon on them. Is that correct?
Somewhere.
So the pigeon has to be important. And if it isn't, that's really disappointing.
The pigeon is very important. Much like the beagle is very important.
Okay.
Yes. So this book is the cover art on the book that I picked up. It has a pigeon front and center, and all the way around it are words in a very bright blue text, and on a white cover. And the words are kind of done in a blueprint.
I say kind of from glancing at it, looks like it's more of like a blueprint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think kind of also works with the story, because it's talking a lot about Tesla's inventions and things like that. Which, now, if you want, I'm going to read the background on this. Okay, so from the back cover. From the moment Louisa first catches sight of the strange man who occupies a forbidden room on the 33rd floor, she is determined to befriend him. Unbeknownst to Louisa, he is Nikola Tesla, inventor of AC electricity and wireless communication, and he is living out his last days at the Hotel New Yorker. Winning his attention through a shared love of pigeons, she eventually uncovers the story of Tesla's life as a Serbian immigrant and a visionary genius. As a boy, he built engines powered by June bugs. As a man, he dreamed of pulling electricity from the sky. The mystery deepens when Louisa reunites with an enigmatic former classmate and faces the loss of her father as he attempts to travel to the past to meet up with his beloved wife. Before the week is out, Louisa must come to terms with her own understanding of love, death, and the power of invention. So, as I said, this is by Samantha Hunt. And one of the quotes for this: "Remarkable, it is a rare thing for a writer to conjure belief and true understanding, but with the invention of everything else, Samantha Hunt has accomplished exactly that." Vanity Fair calls it dazzling, Marie Claire calls it ingenious, and a lot of people seem to think this book is amazing.
It sounds sad.
It's okay. So as far as connecting the cover with the story,
yes,
I think the blueprint part makes a lot of sense, because it really is about her kind of sneaking into Tesla's room and seeing all of his different blueprints and trying to make an understanding of them, and how that relates to not really her wanting to be an inventor, but her trying to understand humanity.
Okay.
And specifically Tesla. And they do have this love affair for pigeons throughout the whole thing.
Is that like, I don't know if you've done any research on this. Is that like a true thing about Tesla? Was he into pigeons? Or is that made up for the source of the, for the book to have a silly element to it?
I think he did have a thing for pigeons. And Tesla was an interesting guy. Anyway, he had some quirky things. And what I think is great about this book is it kind of goes into the idea of what if all the things that Tesla was quirky about were real.
Okay.
So like time travel and being able to communicate with the dead, and the idea that energy and all that is something that we can just kind of grab out of the sky. I think Tesla would have loved today. And you know from other conversations that we've had that the idea of connecting to the ether is a big thing for me.
That's a thing for you, yeah.
So I really was hoping for a lot from this book. Maybe too much. So my opinion on the book itself is it wasn't as fun of a read as Is Fat Bob Dead Yet?
Well, it also doesn't seem like as fun of a read as the cover would suggest. I mean, you've got this big, bright, beautiful cover with a freaking pigeon slapped in the middle of it called The Invention of Everything Else. Is one of those really long, absurd kind of wordy titles that makes you want to say it. It's very much those tricks that authors play, or publishing companies rather. The kind of big, long... it's fun to say this, like, Is Fat Bob Dead Yet? The kind of fun title... And then it's also really bright and appealing color-wise, and it's got a bird on it, and not just it's a dumb pigeon. Like, that makes you pick it up and go, why is there a pigeon?
Okay, so this is interesting, because you're thinking it's this bright and magical book.
That's what the cover looks like.
I didn't get that at all, that it was bright and magical from the cover.
Really?
I totally got that.
You got the sciencey aspect of it.
I got the sciencey side of it.
Well, that comes from me not having a science brain.
I don't really think most people think I have a science brain either. Just so
I know you do, though.
But like, I did. I looked at it and I go, okay, this is going to be very much a sciencey book, and it wasn't. It was more. It was way more touchy-feely.
I'll say this sounds more like an interpersonal connection kind of a book.
It was very much a touchy-feely book. Which was to me didn't quite fit with the cover.
Right.
But I do understand why again, we're basing it on all the little bits of the cover art and stuff. Again, who said it was dazzling? Marie Claire.
Yeah.
Who said it was a really great read? Vanity Fair. These are women-centric books or magazines. So I think a women-centric audience is going to love this because it's about interpersonal and not about the maths.
Right.
And I know that sounds really sexist, but kind of.
So you're thinking it's meant to appeal more to that, you know, I don't know, mid-age kind of lady market that likes sappy things.
Yeah.
Not that all women in that age group like sappy things, but there's a market for it.
Because I'm in the middle.
There's a market for it. The entire romance genre is written for that market.
We're going to talk about that a
lot. But, and so what I find weird is that neither you nor I expected it to be that, looking at the cover. And like, obviously I didn't read this. You read it. I didn't. But you say you read it and looked at the cover thinking, oh, it's going to be about Tesla and the science. Especially the description of the book seems very honest to what the book is. It's not one of those weird, vague descriptions that leads you off track.
It does, because it really is about him and her discovery of self and what life, the meaning of life, versus, oh, I'm learning about Tesla's experiments.
Right.
So, yeah, the description did what it was supposed to do.
Right.
But the cover did not.
So now talk about the audiobook or the ebook title, because you said that one's more honest to the book. So
the ebook one of them is just this pigeon flying away.
Okay.
Which kind of has that touchy-feely, look, it could be a dove, but it's actually a pigeon.
It's more that emotional, like, imagery of the letting go kind of a thing.
Yes. Meanwhile, really is, I don't want to give away too much of the book, but
warning, if you want to read these books, we may or may not spoil them.
Yeah, we try not to, but you know, it really does have that touchy-feely sort of thing to it. The flip side is that there is yet another cover that shows like the buildings of New York in kind of mirror to one another, sort of like, oh, it's this reality, but also this reality.
Like it's Inception or something?
Yeah, it's very Inception-y cover.
When did this book come out? Do we know?
Let's see. When did it come out? You think it is an Inception-y thing?
I'm just wondering if it's influenced by that at all. Then again, we don't, even if there's different editions of the book, we can't maybe pin down when this particular cover came out for it.
Right, that's true. I don't... Come on.
Irrelevant question.
I know. Okay, great question. I'm looking. So, while I'm looking for this, though, I do want to mention that, like, when we were walking down the aisles looking for this book, it really cracked me up because it was one of the first ones that I grabbed. And my reason for grabbing it was because there's a pigeon on the cover.
Right. Which almost makes it look like it's a book about, like, inventing some sort of pigeon trap.
Oh, 2008.
2008. So, pre-Inception. I think that movie came out in 2010, 2012.
It's the Inception of Inception.
Inception. That other cover, though, looking at it with the weird upside-down buildings, that's the only one that's got Tesla on the cover.
Yeah. All the rest don't have Tesla on the cover.
That's so weird.
So, like, if you were thinking about, like, who the heck is Tesla? Or who the heck is this dude on the cover? Because let's be real, the people reading this book may have never encountered Tesla.
Right.
Because while I'm a Tesla geek, and I know a lot about Tesla, there's a fair percentage of the population that is not, like, all into Tesla.
Well, and the cover with the, putting a pigeon on the cover, you're not picking that up thinking, oh, this is a book about Tesla.
Well, I was, because I'm a Tesla geek.
Only seeing the cover of it.
But you're right. If I was an average person of middle-aged femininity, then
well, that begs the question, though. That this is what interests me a lot of times when we look at these: is who is this for? What is the market for this book? That is always like my most interested question. And for me, this book seems a little confusing because if that's the market it's going for, if it's going for that kind of middle-aged, touchy-feely market, that cover does not invoke that.
Actually, this goes into that font matters thing.
Okay.
Because while everything is very blueprinty on the cover, the text of the title, the font of the title, is more of a scrolly...
more of a sappy font.
It is a sappy font.
Okay.
To look at.
Usually sappy books have a sad girl on the cover, or like a lock and a key, or something.
A pigeon flying
something
away.
Some really vague, like invoking imagery of a door or a flower pot. I mean, look at like every Nora Roberts book. It's just like scenery with a house in the corner. Like these kind of those sappy like slice of life novels don't put weird things on the cover.
But it's about Tesla, so you have to put something weird on the cover.
Which, then who is this book for?
Okay, that's a really good question.
Who the book is for and who the cover are for, I think, are two different people.
No, I do think that, because it's historical fiction. It is without a doubt in my mind historical fiction.
Okay.
It is sappy, it is cute, but it is deep as well, because you have to have some sort of knowledge of at least what Tesla was trying to do. Even if you don't understand the science, the math, or anything else about it, you don't really have to, but you do have to understand, like, he was trying to make an impact in the scientific world. And if you can gather that, that's all you really need to make this book a powerful message about, like, is science going to answer questions for us? Is a mathematical mind going to touch on the emotional side of things? And I think that some of that is intermingled in there.
Okay.
Because, again, the heart of the book, the heart of the story is how do we work? How does humanity
It's a scientific read of humanity.
Yeah, and so I think the blueprint thing is kind of interesting, even though there's a pigeon in the middle.
Yeah.
I think it is like...
that pigeon's what throwing me off, man. I know it relates to his love of pigeons, but
and hers too. She would love a pigeon
to the story itself or to your market. That pigeon's throwing me off.
But carrier pigeons, they go home.
Okay, so you found the humanity in the pigeon too.
Yeah, I found the humanity in the pigeon. I feel like it's about coming home. It's about coming back to your roots. It's about how do you find home? Like when you've flown so far away, how do you find home? I don't know. Maybe I'm.
You are reading into that pigeon.
I'm really trying.
That pigeon that might also be a dove.
Yes.
Depending on the cover.
Depending on the cover, but it has to be a pigeon. It's important that it's a pigeon because pigeons are important in the story, and I do think that the blueprint sort of thing.
The blueprint, I feel, again, I didn't read the book, you did. Blueprint feels like it speaks more to what the book actually is.
Yes.
As a story.
Yes.
And as a theme.
Yes.
The pigeon is kind of like a plot element.
Well, but you need that element of, I don't know, like, you couldn't put a person in the middle because then it would be too much like a Da Vinci, like
except for that cover that puts Tesla in the middle.
Except, which he's not in the middle. He's like down
on the side, yeah.
On one corner. But I do think it makes more sense than the buildings. And it makes more sense than the dove being released.
Okay.
Out of all the covers, I think it's the best one to invoke the spirit of the story.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Which is probably why they did it on most of the covers. This book has like 5 different covers.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's a crazy
Which is kind of, I feel like, an odd amount of covers for a book that hasn't like been made into a TV show or a movie. Because that's something that, you know, when you get a re-release of a book,
yeah,
you get that a lot, or a second edition. But this is a fairly new book that hasn't been made into a movie.
Yeah.
So to have like 5 or 6 different covers seems excessive.
We'll cover that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Funny.
Why don't you please cover that?
Yeah.
You're very funny.
Anyway.
Good job explaining the joke.
It's funnier that way. No,
That's not.
Anyway, I do think that it's odd that it has so many covers, and maybe they were trying for different audiences. Maybe they were reaching. Maybe they were trying to figure something out on who can we get to read this book and how do we get them to read it.
Seems to be what we're discovering along the way is different covers maybe are for different people.
Yeah, but ultimately I think out of all the covers, should I do like a rank on the covers? Like one to 5.
Which is the best cover?
Okay, the best cover is the hardcover copy that I picked up at the library, which is the blueprint with the bird in the middle.
Okay.
Best one represents the story, represents the meaning behind it, and doesn't lie to the audience. Worst one, the dove bird.
The dove bird
thing. It's so stupid.
This pigeon is sappy.
It's awful.
Does that one have any kind of background on it? Does that one have like the blueprinty? Because I think
no, it's just
the audiobook has the bird, but he's like facing a different direction, and it still has the blueprinty bit.
Yeah, I don't know.
I remember looking at this when I was like inserting the cover art for different things.
But yeah, I think that it's just the park in the background.
So that's trying to invoke the sappy audience more than anything else, I feel.
And it's not appropriate.
No.
Because it's not like it has sappy parts. Its ultimate core, I guess, is kind of sappy and emotional. It's about the human condition of how do we understand each other and all that kind of stuff. But it's not.
That's a cover that's trying to hide the science.
Yeah, and I think it would lie to the audience. Like you said, the middle-aged woman who's gonna pick up a book would totally, let's be honest, ladies, would totally pick up the bird book. We're just, oh, it's so beautiful. You know, it's
I know women who would pick up that book.
It's the Nicholas Sparks cover.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then, is your building Tesla cover, is that maybe to hit more of a sciencey market?
I don't know what that's for because it just looks
or to make it
really
look like
bizarre.
It's a Tesla biography that you might pick up?
Maybe, but even that, I guess. Maybe it's trying to touch the whole like steampunk thing.
Maybe it kind of looks like that a little bit.
It does have a steampunk.
It's very vintage
feel,
looking, that cover.
And it's just, I don't know, but it's not a good cover. I would put that as like
second lowest
for sure.
And then those other ones that are basically the exact same as the first one, only slightly different.
Yeah, they're only
right in the middle.
Right in the middle. But like the bird one, because it's lying to you, and it doesn't include any of the Tesla-ness that it needs. And then the buildings one, because I don't know. At first I'm kind of like, oh, that's kind of a cool Inception cover, and that would really get me to read it, but I think I'm looking for more action and something like that.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's that action-y bit. It's, when you see two buildings like crashing together.
It's Inception. But before Inception came out.
Right.
Maybe Inception was inspired by this dumb book cover.
Yeah.
Probably not.
But the idea of it is like,
It seems a little more science fiction-y.
Yes.
And doing it that way. Because like you said, it's that different universes kind of a feel to it.
Yeah.
That makes it seem a little more like it's sci-fi.
It is definitely, this is not a sci-fi book. This is not a romance novel.
We have yet, you realize we've done 3 books now, and none of them have been fantasy or science fiction.
Well, that's because we purposely kind of look in the fiction section for the quirky things.
But so we picked 3 weird kind of quirky covers. Well, 2 weird quirky covers and a really boring stupid cover, all just in fiction.
Yeah.
Is that because, we'll get into this later in other episodes, but is that because genre fiction is too tropey?
We probably have to wait to cover that, but yeah.
It's a question for later.
I'm
interested in looking into that question going forward. I wonder if that means like when you're in a fiction genre, just the blanket fiction genre, kind of that same way you have a little more freedom sometimes because you're not hitting genre tropes. You also have a little more freedom with what you put on the cover.
Yeah, but I think for us, because again, we are picking books off the shelves at a library where things are less genre-y.
They don't genre mount in like bookstores either, though. So
right.
It's the same kind of like, I think us going through the library and picking out books is the same experience as someone would have going through a bookstore and picking out a book.
Well, I think though in a bookstore, they try to get you a little more with like, hey, this is clearly historical fiction, and this is clearly steampunk fiction.
They do mark that out a little bit more.
It's more marketing.
Yeah.
We've seen fiction, romance, mystery, and sci-fi.
We have.
And we know sci-fi also includes fantasy.
Yeah, don't get me started on that.
Yeah, we'll go into that. But, so you've got 4 main groups. So yeah, there's a lot more room for error. Mm-hmm. A lot more room for things to kind of, this sort of fits with this, and this sort of fits with that. And if it doesn't truly fit with romance, mystery, sci-fi, fantasy, or Western, Western is another one. If it doesn't specifically fit in those categories, it's going to float into fiction.
Yeah.
And then if it's floating in fiction, it's so easy just to kind of get lost in there. And yeah, I just think that it makes it more fun for us picking it out. And it also makes it rely more on the cover.
Yeah.
Because, again, you're trying to, I'm going to end up in the fiction section. How do I stand out as this kind of book?
Well, and how do, as a publishing company, how do we make this obvious that this book, even though it's a fictional book, that it fits into one of these kind of subgenres?
Yeah.
Which this one is, like I said, it's historical fiction, but it's also kind of dramatic fiction.
Yeah.
It's got a couple different subgenres to it.
Yeah, it's got a lot going on in it. It is a love story. It fits into all those things. But yeah, nothing stands out as this is science fiction.
Right.
So we need to put it here.
All right, Jen, so did you have any final thoughts on this book?
I think I can say it's definitely an enjoyable book. I would recommend it for people to read, and I would say as far as a fiction book, if it's fine. Science fiction, no, not so much. So can we judge the book by its cover? No.
Not today.
Not today.
Not today. I think, what are we at now? 2 yes, 1 no?
I think we're at 2 yes, 1 no.
We're not going to be able to keep track of that. But so far...
Our adoring fans will keep it to running tally for us. All 2 of you. All right, so what will we be talking about on the next episode?
I think we're going to be shifting gears a little bit away from sappy, not really science fiction, and we're going to be talking about some romance covers. And then I'm going to be talking about the book that I've been reading, which is called Hot and Badgered It's a shape-shifting love story. Aren't you excited? We talked a little bit about it on our live show. I think we're gonna have fun. It was a fun book. So
All right.
I think we'll have some fun with that one, and kind of see where that one goes. So stay tuned for that. I think we are kind of talking about our ongoing release schedule. We're going to try to release last Tuesday of the month.
Yes.
So 1 month from hopefully when you're hearing this will be our next episode. And so look out for the Hot and Badgered episode upcoming. In the meantime, please follow us on our social media. We're at Case in the Cover on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube. Facebook's probably going to be the best place for regular updates as of now, but you can find us on any of those platforms. Anything else to say, Miss Jen?
Thank you for listening, and again, thank you to our adoring fans, all two of you.
Thanks, Mom and Dad. Bye.